Right, thanks, Chris. Experts and politicians gathered at Telstra Dome today to discuss ways to fix Melbourne's worsening transport crisis. Instead, the state government was forced to defend why the ageing Hitachi train fleet sits rusting in rail yards. Jacqueline Freegard reports.
The Premier addresses the government's Transport Summit this afternoon and denies it's yet another excuse for a talk fest.
It will be a plan of action to ensure that Victoria's transport system can address both the challenges of today that will also shape our future.
Industry experts gathering to discuss solutions to our public transport crisis, their last chance to put forward their views on the Eddington report. Protesters, though, want a quick fix.
Frequent public transport services that people can actually use. Until we get that, people are going to continue driving their cars and suffering from petrol prices. We need real transport solutions.
But that's unlikely. The state's ageing Hitachi train fleet currently laying idle, riddled with rust.
How ridiculous, pouring money down the throats of these old rust buckets rather than investing in new trains, which is what should have happened in the first place.
They are 35 years old. They do need some extra work done on them, but I think it was the right decision to keep them in service, to be able to provide the extra services whilst we wait for the order of the new trains.
All 7 trains will now be inspected for corrosion and to ensure they are structurally sound.
It doesn't mean absolutely no service implications, but they are minimal service implications.
The Victorian government has promised to invest in infrastructure to address the state's transport woes. At a forum in Melbourne today, lobby groups made it clear what they want to see in the government's planned blueprint for roads, freight and public transport. In the meantime, the government is considering free tram and train travel after the evening peak to ease congestion.
The government gathered Victoria's transport experts for a final talk fest today before it bunkers down to develop its long-awaited master plan.
It's a plan that will need to respond to the challenges of congestion, population growth, rising petrol prices and climate change.
The Premier says these factors, not government inaction, have pushed Melbourne's public transport network over the edge. Patronage on the city system is at record highs and will get higher. The Bureau of Statistics predicts Melbourne's population will more than double to 7.9 million by 2056.
They were told in 2003 all the predictions were that the population was growing here. John Brumby continued to crow about people moving to Victoria, and yet they've failed to provide basic infrastructure.
Free tram and train travel after 8 o'clock at night is now being considered. Other interim measures aren't working out. The old Hitachi carriages sold to a collector for $2,500, then bought back for $60,000, have been sidelined due to corrosion.
They are 35 years old. They do need some extra work done on them, but I think it was the right decision to keep them in service, to be able to provide the extra services whilst we wait for the order of the new trains.
The government's still considering whether to build the controversial east-west tunnel recommended by Sir Rod Eddington. Also on today's agenda were proposals to extend rail links to outer suburbs and give trams more road space.
We're going to have to set the benchmark much higher, and we're going to have to look to internationally to look for solutions.
The government will release its transport plan in November. Kelly Lazaro, ABC News, Melbourne.
The forced removal of 7 rust-riddled trains has embarrassed the state government. It came as the Premier faced protests while selling his transport message at a city summit.
Another day, another protest group attacks the Brumby government. This time, a proposal to build a multi-billion-dollar east-west road tunnel is under fire.
We're going to fight on, so don't think Brumby, you've Brumbied us. We're going to finish you.
An old transport problem has also emerged. Connex forced to pull 7 of its ageing Hitachi trains out of service, causing embarrassment. Several of the trains were sold to a collector for next to nothing. The minister saying they were bought back just for spare parts.
There were a number of trains that were bought back in order to help with the refurbishment.
But Connex says the trains had been running until the rust problem was found. The issue came as John Brumby attempted to sell his transport vision at a summit to discuss the Victorian Transport Plan. But it was a shelved plan that was also causing more criticism. A 2003 government report had warned train patronage would climb to reach 200 million people last year. It reached that level this year, pushing the system to breaking point. But the Premier maintains the demand couldn't have been predicted.
I believe we are making progress. But of course we do have to do more, and that's what the Victorian Transport Plan is about.
The government's latest transport plan will be completed this year. James Wakeland, 10 News.
Well, let's see what progress the traffic's making tonight as we cross to the chopper. Here's Vanessa O'Hanlon.
Thanks, Mel. For Preston Motors Brighton European, ending the week on a heavy note for the Monash Freeway. Very slow traffic from Warrigal Road all the way out to Stud Road as we get past Eastlink at the moment. Inbound traffic's very slow from Taronga Road, struggling through the Domain Tunnel. That's down to 60 k's with the left-hand lane closed. And the Westgate very slow up towards the Montague Street area. On the Western Ring Road, delays from the Calder out towards the Jacana Tunnel. And we've got some issues with the boom gates in Carrum at the moment, Nepean Highway. I'm Vanessa O'Hanlon. See you after sport.